I am walking Jock's Road, a famous droving route, and I'm heading for Davie's Bourach, which, according to my research, is the highest shelter in Scotland and therefore the UK.
I get lost in a blizzard. I stay here.
There's a drip from the roof, it's not quite fully watertight.
I fall over a lot. I chat about the area and its history.
Across the Highlands in the late 18th century, and this was due to a couple of things.
And check out the local wildlife.
I'm walking north to south the way the drovers would have walked for centuries. Hundreds of thousands of cattle would have been moved this way across the Highlands, eventually ending up in central Scotland for sale, and even further on to northern England. Some old sheelings. This is the priest stone. So the priest stone marks a well just behind it. And the local story goes, there was a particularly bitter winter here where it kept going on and the ice wouldn't melt and the well was frozen. And the priest, a local clergyman named Patrick, came here and he prayed. And quickly afterwards, the ice began to melt and the winter was over, which is why the well is named after him, and there's also a hill behind it called Patrick's Hill. Callata stables behind me, they're owned by Invercourt Estate now, but back in the day they would have been the last refuge for the drovers before they headed up onto the Mounth, as it's known locally, which is the plateau, and would have been a refuge before going into wild country. It's not entirely clear why it's called Jock's Road. Local tradition goes there was a shepherd called Jock, and he sometimes used to guide people across the Mounth up here as it was dangerous. He's sometimes also known as Jock Winter or John Winter. And in another version of the story, there was a dispute between Lord Invercourt and Lord Aberdeen, and he actually denied Lord Aberdeen access to the Mounth, and realising the consequences of what he'd done, he went into hiding up on the plateau, and that's why it's known as Jock's Road. Just in case you don't believe it's me doing all the work filming. So from the Braemar side I've gone to Loch Callata, to the stables there. I don't know why the bothy was closed. If anyone knows, let me know, but I think it should be open. And we've walked along the loch and we're now heading up to to the Mounth, as it's known locally, the big plateau over the top. And I'm heading for Davie's Bourach, which, according to my research, is the highest shelter in Scotland and therefore the UK. I used to think it was the Hutchison Memorial Hut, which is below Ben Macdui, but this is actually higher. It's 2,800 feet. It's getting a bit boggy. I did not want to be crossing here. Let's go higher up. Oh. Did you get that? Grouse. So they're pretty active this time of year. They're about to do their lek, which is their breeding dance, and they're black grouse. I always used to be told they sound like they're saying, "Come back, come back, come back," or "Come back, come back," if you just say that really fast. The weather up at the top looks pretty bad. I can see there's cloud, possibly rain, possibly snow, and I don't know how deep the snow is up there. And probably no one's even walked upon it for months. So I put my gaiters on, put my waterproofs on, and I'm just going to go up there and I'm going to reassess when I get to the top. If the snow is too bad, untrodden, the path is too difficult, I'm just going to turn around. That's the safest thing. Well, at least someone's put poles up to help in the snow. I've seen footprints, so at least one other person is crazy enough to go up to the top. Okay, so I think this is doable. We're up and over the steepest bit. The snow's actually a little bit thinner at the top, probably because it's been blown around. And it's kind of compacted down with ice layers. It's not too powdery, you're not sinking into it. So coming up to Craig Cowie's next, the highest point. Welcome to the Arctic. That is sheet hail just driving into my face horizontally. Hey, Cowies! It's a new technique I pioneered. Okay, I can see the shelter. We've almost got sanctuary. It's not over till it's over. Alright, a couple more deep snow bits. Oh, grouse, you getting that? Grouse. In fact, let's avoid this. Let's go back up. Let's stick to what we know. Let's stick to the header. And it is the path. Oh. Gravel, we like gravel. Okay, one more snowbank. Left or right? Right looks not quite as bad. Feet are wet now. Not much we can do about that. Okay, so I didn't die. I'm here at Davie's Bourach. Thought I'd give you a little tour. There he is, the man himself, tam o' shanter and all. A lot of graffiti, obviously had a lot of usage over the years. So we've got our little kind of post box looking door, looks a bit like a hobbit hole. It's got a window though. Look how bad that is. Don't mind my stuff. So this is the sleeping platform, and as you can see, it's not totally weatherproof. There's a nice layer of snow over there. I'm going to shovel that out. Luckily I've got my bivvy bag, so shouldn't make too much difference anyway if a bit of water or snow drips on me. Gloves, they're an absolute write-off. I can't quite stand in here. I'm sort of half crouched. I'm about 5'11". They've jammed in some heathery grass material here, just like the old crofters, stopping the draft between the stones. That was pretty hairy though, I have to say. The top of the highest point there, I was in a whiteout blizzard, and I did actually go around in circles a couple of times until I took my bearing and my compass and just stuck to it. But it just goes to show how scary it is up there. And you know, it's exactly what happened to that mountaineering group in 1959 with their accident. The snow was actually okay to walk on at the top, but as soon as I came down off the summit and descended to the Angus side towards the hut here, as you can probably see on the GoPro, I was sinking into quite large drifts and falling over regularly, which was pretty tiring. Inevitably my feet are wet, and the waterproofs could only hold out so long, but I've got dry socks and I'm now in the shelter, so I should be alright. Angus Glens. Someone else been through the deep snow. Discharged from a psych ward. Good luck. Oh, that's cute. Archie and Fergus, their dogs, made it. Okay, I think it's time for me to make an entry. Go hill walking in November, they say. It'll be fun, they said. Aidan and Gab. 16th of November 2019. Go hill walking in March in a blizzard, they said. It'll be fun, they said. So I just wanted to show you my cooking set. Everything I need for cooking fits in this tiny little pot. Stove stand, stove, gas. I'm just lying in bed while I'm cooking to try and dry my feet. One thing about the snow is no matter how hard you try, ultimately your boots do end up getting wet, and once they do get wet in freezing conditions, it's pretty unpleasant. Got my own window behind me, just listening to the storm outside. The rain has stopped now, but the wind is still going. Hopefully be a little bit quieter heading down the mountain tomorrow. I've got my hot chocolate. I've had my whiskey, Royal Lothingar, highly recommended. I've been having some oat cakes. And I finished my fine Highland cheese, skinny crowdy. Pretty much a drover's meal. Just need some black pudding as well. So a Bourach is a Scots word for a mess or a muddle, but it also means a home. The reason why Davie's Bourach was built was due to a climbing accident in 1959. So 5 climbers set off from the same side that I just set off from. They got caught in a blizzard at the top, pretty similar to what I did today, to be honest, with whiteout conditions. And unfortunately all 5 lost their lives. A local man, Davie Glen, spent weeks trying to find them, or at least the bodies, and it was this event, this tragedy, that led him to start building a refuge up here. He was known to be a dry stone waller, and the original shelter was built in 1966. It's undergone further renovation, most recently in 2019, in its present state. It's 20 past 8 at night. Just have a listen. Every now and then, there's a drip from the roof. It's not quite fully watertight. And the door also just moves a little bit, the metal clanking. And you can hear the wind against the stones outside. I would not want to be outside tonight. It's like the worst of the storm is gone. No, not again. Caught him having his breakfast. Storm damage. So I'm just walking down Glen estate now, towards the end of the walk, and I just want to explain how this estate, Glen, actually was quite pivotal in creating our modern right to roam land access laws in Scotland. So for centuries, shepherds and drovers had moved across the Highlands freely. But in the late 19th century, Highland sporting estates increasingly tried to restrict access as they were using them for deer stalking and grouse shooting. And the owner of Glen estate in 1885, Duncan Macpherson, who made his fortune as a grazier in Australia, he tried to close off Jock's Road. But a newly formed body, the Scots Right of Way Society, they started walking the land and put up signs declaring public access to Jock's Road, and there was a dispute, and eventually a legal case was brought, and it was established that people had always used these roads and therefore had the right to continue to use routes like Jock's Road, and that led to some of our modern land reform laws, and eventually in 2003 the right to roam. There was an explosion in droving across the Highlands in the late 18th century, and this was due to a couple of things. One was that Britain was now unionised, so there was increasing demand down south, and it was also increasingly industrialised. The drovers would have moved cattle from late spring to early autumn, and they would have had to have driven them across inhospitable terrain like this, kept them well fed, looked after, and ultimately make sure that they were able to sell them at the other end for a profit. They must have been incredibly tough people. The drovers could have taken an easier route here, over Glen through the Cairngorms Pass. The reason why they kept going over Jock's Road was that that pass over Glen had become a military road after the Jacobite rebellions, and there was a lot more traffic there. There also would have been tolls which they wanted to avoid, and a proper road would have worn down the cattle hooves quicker. Finally, they also preferred quieter roads where they could, to try and avoid the armed raiders. The drovers were actually exempt from the Disarming Acts due to the importance of receiving the meat down south, and they were allowed to carry whatever weapons they could muster, including broadswords, dirks,